In this video, you will learn how to import an IP controller into the FX Supervisor. You'll also learn how to replace an MSTP controller communicating peer-to-peer with an FX IP controller.
I have a PCV 1930 on my Ethernet, and it's at IP address 192.168.1.152 and has a BACnet ID or instance number of 10,001. The BACnet network I want to add the PCV 1930 IP controller to is on a FX Supervisor FX80 at IP address 192.168.1.151. Both the IP controller and the FX80 are on the same subnet. So I can go and discover that controller. In my case, network 1 is the IP network, and I'll go and discover that network. And up comes the IP VAV at device ID 10,001 and IP address 192.168.1.152. The device ID needs to be unique across the entire network, and in this case, the IP address is on the same subnet. Now, if that IP VAV controller was on a separate subnet, a device with a BBMD would need to be added to that separate subnet. The VAV controller, the 1930, does not support a BBMD. So if you are on a separate subnet, you would need to add, say, a router and set up a BBMD on that router looking for the FX Supervisor, and also a BBMD in the FX Supervisor looking at the router. So I'm going to add that VAV controller. Just like in the MSTP controllers, the import of the IP controllers are supported in the JCI appliance. So I'll open up the JCI BACnet Import Manager, select the IP controller, hit Edit. Now I'll go find the CAF file for the IP controller. And again, just like in the MSTP controllers, it's set to automatically import the proxy points, the graphic. So I'll create a new graphic. I'll create a new HX graphic. And I'll go ahead and update the action menus. That'll make it only support the override commands. And slip OK. Now we've added our IP controller with a graphic, proxy points, alarms, and trends. For demonstration purposes, I connected my map to the same subnet as the IP controller and the FX supervisor. I also connected it to the SA trunk of the IP controller. I want to demonstrate that if I go to Discover and select the network number of the map, the IP controller will come up as a device on the map's network. And when that happens, the network number of that controller will be changed. So this is something that you need to be aware of. To correct that, simply go to Discover and rediscover that IP controller directly on the IP network. As a demonstration, I'm going to delete the IP VAV controller. And with a little magic, disconnect the device ID 1007 from a MSTP trunk I have that's doing a zoning system. Next, I'll open up PCT and open up the CAF file that was in device ID 1007. Upgrade it to 10.3. Target it to a PCV 1930. And then transfer that to the device. And I want this one to have the device ID from the CAF file. And then hit finish. Now, the reason I'm making this change is this zoning system has 3 network outputs that are being pushed to another controller, and then 3 network inputs that are being pulled from that controller. So it's sending in 3 pieces of information to the RTU and pulling 3 pieces of information from the RTU. And the IP controllers will work with both MSDP controllers and IP controllers peer-to-peer as long as they're on the same subnet. So now I have this controller downloaded, and I can go to the supervisor and notice that it was room 103, device 1007 was automatically changed to an IP controller. And let's take a look at the RTU and pull this down. And here's my zone demand for zone 1. Now let's look at the zone demand for zone 3. You can see that it is a minus 100%. The temperature is 68.1, and the occupancy command is also being shared. So the peer-to-peer communication is automatically changed with the download.